Well, back at it here. And it's it's winter here now. So the weather outside is weather. And I get probably 6 months of this crap. Hopefully a little less because we got late later snow. The fall's been really nice. So you'll be seeing a lot more white in the background. And then slowly my skin will turn whiter as well because that's what happens up north. And then I'll become some sort of pasty white person like much of us northerners will, unless we go traveling down south, which I won't be doing that this year, I doubt. Anyways, so start off, it's Thanksgiving week. I'm actually going to put this out for tomorrow as people will be sitting down mindlessly looking on their phones at crap and things of that nature. They'll have more time, honestly, because half people don't want to just be bothered by their family, I think. Or once they're relaxing, whatever. So, of course, Thanksgiving week is a big week in reality for ag production. There's, it's a harvest of food and celebrating that and sharing and giving and all the fun stuff that is tradition and everything around is stressing out over making food for your family or cleaning the house, all that fun stuff. So I'll maybe get a little into just like that whole thing in the ag side, but I did an earlier video in the week, and as I do, sometimes I have a couple takes at it in my own realm before I put something out. But you almost think about it, it's like, okay, prices are up, everyone's mad, the economy's in a weird spot. Of course, part of that is, and what's odd is like we have an overabundance of like all this stuff, and prices are up for food and commodity prices are lower. I mean, they're not like terrible. I've seen worse, but other costs are higher. So, there's a profit and loss is a little different. There's a lot of uncertainty, but I was reading an article earlier this week and it made some good points. We praise certain giants in ag for helping, feed more people and safer and all that. Norman Borlaug and groups like that, people like that did great things and all that. Yeah, I'm not going to take that away, but in essence, there's another side to all of these things too. There's Because of that, it created a system so we could overproduce. And while the notion of we got to feed the world and all that, well, yeah, of course, but we've produced enough. It's just the other pieces, distribution, and well, now trade and tariffs and things like that. And then there's all these other political issues that kind of get in the way. But we still overproduce. We push yield. We push this, and it's like more and more conversations are going on. It's like, we need more, nutritious this, and we need to know where our food comes from, and country of origin labeling for beef, and maybe more traceability for certain crops and certain food. And yeah, we probably all need to get there. But of course, how does that impact all this stuff? Well, I also like took a little trip this week on a local tour of a massive dairy, and they're kind of spreading around, and they actually got a new location here in North Dakota south of me, and they're building another one a little north of me. And the one I went to is like, I don't know, 11,000 head of cattle, and I think the one north of me is gonna be like double that. The one south of me is about the same size. Giant operation, clean, safe. There's a lot of controversy on, manure is going to get into the watershed and all that, which, looking at the place, how it's put together, I mean, that's not going to be a problem. The site costs like $90 million to put together. Like, they can't risk crap like that happening for, putting in different liners and clay dikes and all that. There, accidents can happen. Don't get me wrong, they can. But in general, yeah, sound operation. Though, uh, I will say there was a concern, and I get why I get the reasons why it's a thing, but when you see it, I don't know. It's a little odd and depressing, and that has become more of a thing once I had my dogs actually. And anybody else that has pets, you can see in their eyes their emotional state. Um, and I would say most animals have this. Yeah, we do eat some of those animals though too. And this dairy was it's confinement agriculture. Um, these cows are under one giant roof, like a 40-acre building. I mean, it's massive. Um, and while the operation is clean and sound and safe, and you just look into the eyes of the cows, like they don't see like they're not outside ever. They sit in there, they're fed, they gotta stand in their crap a little bit. Of course, a lot of livestock do that and are generally fine. There's a limit, there is. Then they take that manure and they vacuum it up and they squeeze it out the fibers, and then that fiber becomes their bedding. So it's kind of like they sit in their shit and then they stand in their shit and then they sit in their shit. Even though it's not, I'm not saying this. It's just the mental side of it's like, ah. But they have some straw and bedding or other bedding stuff here and there. So I don't know, whatever. Probably the bigger thing was it's just they're all under a roof all the time. And I know there's studies out there that are like, happy cow, better milk, produce more. Of course, the economics, there's probably you have enough, you do it the efficient way, then that doesn't matter. Yeah, I knew this was a thing, but I didn't really overly think about it either until you see it. Then you can stare in the cow's eyes and it's like, this makes you think. I love cheese, and cheese is on the rise. I'm pro cheese, pro milk. Not against any of that. Not against dairies. Though, as I was talking to a few, it's like, everyone deserves a little vacation. Like, there's another field next to it. Make that more of a pasture. Like, give them a little stroll. Let them like stroll through some fencing once a week or something, just to boost some morale. It's not a bad thing. Animals need it too. This is why I walk my dogs, so they can get out and stretch their legs and all that. Like, there's something off there, is what I'm saying. And I'm not going to name the group or whatever. I mean, they're all like this. And some have a little more outside space. Up here, I get why it's under a roof, because half the time it's cold and freezing. Like, I understand it, and that can come to more injuries, that can come to more problems. Don't get me wrong. But that gets to my other point. It's like, it's kind of creating another overabundance and making it so damn efficient, putting so many animals in an area to do things. But yeah, there's demand, so you need to do it. Like, everyone loves bacon, so you got to put all these pigs in a building, and you got to feed them. You got to feed them corn and soy meal and all this other hay products. We got to run this agricultural machine because people want that. And like, as I made the argument, it's like, just give them a little time out in the pasture. One person said, and I think they ran a hog confinement barn, which, okay, I get the sentiment on this. He's like, well, if you want your bacon to be $15 and your gallon of milk to be $10, then sure, that's how it is. But people demand cheaper, and that's it's all these market dynamics. And yeah, guy is accurate. And there's a balance to it all. And there's like a balance to how we create this overabundance. You want cheap bread, and you want cheap fruit and apples and all this. And I've wondered at times, and I know other people do too, it's like, well, it's kind of almost like creates our own destruction. Because from one of this other comment on this post about what I was talking about with, like, this overabundance thing, person said, when the consumer stops caring where things are from, or about the main person providing the main ingredients, farmer, rancher, XYZ, and And when the buyer does too, which they do, I've talked about this on like the pasta side. Like I asked, like, don't you want to know maybe, or isn't there some specialty things where some of the buyers want to know where the durum for the pasta comes from? Not really. They won't pay extra for it. And they've done market research. They've done this stuff. And they're like, yeah, it's price. Which, yep, it is price. I go for the cheaper pasta because I don't know it's made with the same damn shit. There's really nothing different between the one box and another box, and if they're 50 cents different, there's really nothing different to it. Same with a block of cheese and other things like that. It's all branding and marketing. Who's paying for the commercials? Our family brand does not do commercials for Thanksgiving. Uh, you know, Others do. The big top ones, they do the commercials. Of course, pay for those are really expensive, and it's these dynamics. But that one comment in that post kind of drive home. It's like, yeah, when the consumer doesn't care, or they're trained not to care, because over time we never really could do it in the past. Tech wasn't there to do it. Not well, unless it was kind of a local thing, and that's like local market and garden and all that. It's like people know then, and they pay a little more there. But we really couldn't do it. And quantity side's even tougher. So when you're making like the dairy, tons of milk, like you can't track by the cow exactly where that jug of milk came from. It doesn't really can't work that way until we put like nanobots, I suppose, that are like molecular tracking everything where everything goes, and then it gets mixed up anyways. Yeah, you don't want $50 a jug of milk, unless you just don't drink milk, I guess, or don't eat cheese. That's the other option, I guess. But then, yeah, when the companies that buy this stuff, when they don't really care, it's like what farmers and ranchers are left with, like, what the hell do we do? So then you just grow things for cheaper, and you have to expand. You have to make the farm bigger because the prices go lower, inputs are higher. You have to do efficiencies. That's why farms are getting bigger and bigger, and that's not going to stop. I'm not saying even it should. I don't think inherently it could if you wanted it to. But it does make you think. It's like we as an ag industry are like, we'll bitch about prices and policy. Bigger farms get bigger. BTOs, big time operators. That's what the kids call them. It's like, even those guys, they're kind of destroying. We're all destroying ourselves in a sense, and everyone's starting to see it. This is the odd thing. I think you inherently felt it earlier. Oh, I might be going through a big old snowdrift here. Wish me luck. Um, yeah. There's a big one coming up. Shit, this could be interesting. Made it. Sorry for the pause. When there's a bunch of bales on the side of the road and the wind's the right direction, you get a big drift. Luckily, it wasn't hard as a rock. Anyways, so you get this. We're kind of destroying our own market in our own ways, because when it gets to a certain point, then we shift. Production shifts somewhere else where it's cheaper, labor's cheaper, land is cheaper, where policy is less, regulation is less. And a lot of people are talking about this. Move to corn and beans more to Brazil, and China going there instead, and things of that nature. It's like, well, what do you do to combat it? In going now into the ag tech stuff. Well, we really haven't. We've done kind of a cruddy job at thinking about it. We do. I always have, I know, and I know others have. But it's always been about yield and efficiency, and that's how we push a lot of the ag technology. Yield efficiency, yield efficiency. Waste less. Use less product, which is good, but we don't. And as I've argued, I was arguing on the whole software and ag retailer stuff last week. I have more to say on that. Mainly that ag retail should probably get out of agronomy. I'll get into that like next week or something. What's tech to do? Can it make our food cheaper. Um, I mean, with commodity prices lower, and beef prices are higher, but and feed prices lower. I don't know. I I don't know really what is done. Even the global scape of, there might be some population decline or leveling out or something, in the next couple decades or something like that. Is Do we have to just rethink how we do all this? And I do think we do. We're kind of in this third spool of modern ag where, we figured out how to make a crap ton of it. Now we have to make it better. And, in the case of that dairy I saw, it's like, when's the moment in time, I guess? Because there's science and literature and research out there that happier cow is better nutrient dense milk. And, maybe it tastes better. I don't know. I would hope so, but maybe it doesn't. And then, that's another factor to the price. But are people going to, pay for that? Or is the government going to care? It's like they seemingly do, but they don't, because, it's lobbying and all that crap. So, this major dairy is enormous. It's so big that the calves that come off, they have like 25 a day at just that location. They get shipped to Arizona to grow up because it's more efficient to do it that way than right there, especially in cold environments. It's where's the shift, I guess, and can that happen? Is there enough incentive for, the large farms aren't going to do it. Those groups are not, giant dairies not going to do it. Can the smaller groups do it? Is there programs to incentivize that as tech groups? Can we help in that? Can we make systems where it's better to track kind of all these processes better? Like yesterday, I was talking to a guy who's done software and specialty crops a lot, and I was like, that's what I'd kind of like to do on the grain side. It's, I'll have a little under 800 acres. Like, I don't want to farm two commodities. I will probably next year because of just getting into it. But I'd like to do, 10 different crops and then maybe different varieties within those 10 different fields of the same crop and try to market those differently. And I need the right software to do that. And maybe I can use some of the specialties. I don't know. I don't know if I'll get there. That's complicated. And, I live 3 hours away from it. So it's like, the balance. It's tough to showcase. So why am I all saying this crap? And why am I, it's all kind of depressing in a sense. Ag is in a depressed state. How we grow our stuff is in a kind of a depressed state, kind of unsure how we feel about it. I'm unsure how I feel about it. I had some cheese last night in a taco. Yeah, I generally know how those cows felt that made that cheese. They didn't feel that great, but the cheese tasted okay. I'll end with my thought here quick, and then I gotta let my dogs in here like normal. So, why am I saying all this stuff? Thanksgiving. Well, you're gonna get a bunch of posts of nice, good old. Well, this is, we gotta celebrate and all this. And ag is great for making all this food on the table and all this, wonderful bullshit we say every year during the holidays, which is all true. It's fine. But I say these things so that when you're sitting down, eating all these, the most food you're probably going to eat all year beyond maybe Christmas, for at least people here in the States, but other holidays too. There's always abundance when people get together and sharing things, all these kind of holiday get togethers like that. I'm just hoping you think about it. You think about, okay, how did this turkey actually get made? Where's the majority of turkeys? Well, they're in a big confinement barn and spread meal and all that, and there's like a 10% chance every year a bird flu comes in and they wipe out the whole flock. Seriously, it's like a normal thing, it seems. Okay, it's like, yeah, okay, the stuffing. It's like, well, okay, you got breadcrumbs, so flour and all that from wheat. It's like, okay, well, how was that made? Well, if it's up in here in spring wheat, it's there's so much fertilizer put down, synthetic. It's sprayed a couple times. Most up here is desiccated with Roundup, and then it's harvested, put in a bin, and then all mixed together and ground up and made flour, and then bakers put bread, and that's the mass market of it. All right, potatoes. Potatoes are a little more like direct, so it's always interesting. Uh, Even a friend of mine on the tour that was kind of guiding it, part of it. I went up to a farm in North Dakota, grabbed a bunch of potatoes, like make your potatoes, make your mashed potatoes out of these, please. That would be the cool thing to do. So I plan to do that, even though my dad's making potatoes, so I gotta go bring those to him. It's like, yeah, that makes me feel a little better about it all. Cranberries. I don't know. There's like 1,000 acres of cranberries that produce everything. I know it's a little more than that, but there's like it's a very small thing. I don't really. Gravy comes from just all the drippings and the. I actually really don't even know how chicken broth. I know how chicken broth's made, but like how it's done on the industrial scale. I should probably watch a how it's made from the History Channel if they did one on that. Which they probably did. Corn, sweet corn. Well, that's another direct thing, I guess. Pumpkin pie. It's like there's like there's actually an interesting way they do like pumpkin puree and all that. Like they have these big rotating machines and harvest how they harvest pumpkins. And there's other ways. Maybe that's just for the seeds. Either way, I would just think about it. Think about all the things that go into it, just for general thought. But then, like, really think about it. It's like, is how we do these things like long term sustainably good? It's like, okay, and then it's like, how does technology fit into all these things? Where could it fit into it, or where could it be better? And then I guess it's like, with those two combined, and you're eating something, if you knew exactly where that turkey came from in its life and what it ate, and exactly where that flour for that stuffing and the onions in it, or whatever other ingredients, celery, if you knew exactly where it came from and there was a story behind it, would you care? Like, would it make the whole experience feel better? I don't know for myself, really. Part of me thinks, yeah, that would be good, and then part of me is like, yeah, well, that would cost like double probably. At least today's mode of action. It's like, will the future care, or are we just kind of in this same loop, and it just kind of gets more and more of the same thing? Eventually robots will come in and do it all, right? And then we'll feel. I don't know how we'll feel then either. Rural communities won't like it. I'll tell you that. So it just makes me think, and I wanted to share kind of some of these ideas and thoughts as you get together with your families and bountiful harvest of a meal. Yeah, that's what I do. I talk about things make you think. Sure, I maybe present things in little depressing ways, how I can be, but it's also magical and amazing that you can go to a grocery store and just buy these things, and they're there. You can pay for them, and you don't have to think about it. Like, that's a fairly modern thing. Like, really, last, I don't know, basically after the World War too, that all this kind of came together. And green bean casserole, for instance, on Thanksgiving was created by like Campbell's Soup to promote cream of mushroom. They're like, how the hell do we make it? How the hell we sell it? Oh, we need to have someone make a dish about it. So they did. And this gal did, I don't know if it actually was, I want to say it was actually like Betty Crocker, like the actual woman that did it, or it was some very like popular person that people know now. And she did all these recipes. And that's why all these soups from Campbell's Soup became popular, because they put a recipe on the can, say, make this, or on the box of this. That's a recent thing. And we like take it for this, oh my God, it's been around forever. Well, the Pilgrims and the Indians didn't have green bean casserole. They didn't have the cranberry sauce. Same. It was all this marketing thing that came into it. Yeah, I know. You're getting stressed, Dauber. He wants his FOOD. I'm just trying to finish up here. And even just the modern ways we've done a lot of this is like, I don't even know how accurate any of that is anyways. What's it going to look like in 50 years? Maybe people don't even want turkey. It'll switch to something else, or who knows? And that makes me think as well. It's like, oh my God, I'm getting like 50 freaking notifications. Go away. I put all this together, and it's like, I just want people to think about it, because I don't know if anybody really does think about all these things. I probably won't tomorrow, because I'm cooking and hosting my family, and it'll be busy, kids running around, just chaos. So if you find time sitting down, if you read it, my little spiel on it, I'm curious if you just think about it, how you think about it. Do you buy anything that you're like, well, at least there's one thing I know where it's from? And it kind of makes me feel good. I know I can't with everything. I can't know exactly where the butter that I put on mashed potatoes, I can't know exactly where the wheat came from, the flour that goes in the stuffing. I get that. But is there anything, or do you like want that? Are these things people want, or do we want to build things to help people get to that point so that people actually want them? Because, like I said, nobody knew they wanted green bean casserole until someone like made it and said, here it is. No one wanted that. No, they wanted cream of mushroom soup before that was done, but they still made it. So someone, through marketing, basically, and to try to get rid of byproduct and a process, created something so that we would want it. So is that what we have to do in ag tech? Do we have to create these things so people inherently want to try them, to actually try to market their grain better, so it's more traceable and all this? Like, we can't wait necessarily for the market to decide that. Maybe we have to build it, or maybe more farmers just have to say, I want it. I want to do this long term because of the future of my farm. I'm smaller. Like, I have to do this because I can't go big. I can't. It's just the time frames and the logistics of doing it. It was easier when land was cheap. It's not. It was easier when this is. Well, that's not the way now. That's where I'm thinking on my farm. It's like, I'm going to have to do these things. I'm going to have to get more into traceability and specialty in some way, market it, showcase it differently, use media like this and social channels and all that to get people to care, to want it, just like the cream of mushroom soup and green bean casserole, which, by the way, is delicious and terrible for you. It's still good. And people are going to eat that way. And I guess that's probably good for my wife, because she is a weight management clinic. So eat up, everyone, and then feel bad about it New Year's, especially in the local area, and go see her if you feel bad and want to lose some weight and get healthier. She's your gal. Because the rest of us will create abundance and keep obesity high, I suppose. Or be incentivized basically to do it. Produce more, sell more for cheap, so it's cheaper to eat more. Or, well, probably not the best analogy with the green bean casserole side, but what if we make things in tech that allow other farmers to do things that they didn't know they could do, and create markets for others that they didn't know that was there? So that the pasta plant nearby, make a program, say, yeah, we want to work with some local durum growers that want to do something special. We're going to try this out. I'm not saying you'll get a higher amount for your crop, but you'll get a contract, and we're going to work with you, and we're going to create a story over it. Same with maybe the butterball turkeys. It's like, we're not going to do it on all of them, but we're going to do it on some. We're going to try something. It's going to take a little bit of everyone to try something like that and to fit together, say, we're looking for these things because we want to see if this could work, because I think inherently we know that there is a market for it. It's just, it's been very disparate and people talk about it, and it's going to start with more high net worth or top end people go high end restaurants. Like, that's being done to a point right now. It's like, how do we get that to the next step lower? So it's in the grocery store, maybe the higher end grocery store. You know, people are dabbling into it, but I think we need to push it a little more. So as you think through eating all your food this week and all the leftovers, I challenge you to just think, what is what you do in ag, if you're listening to this? What could you do to maybe, what's an idea that could get you to think that way? What could you do? What could you change about your system or your process or your sensor or your business? It's like, you know, we're gonna try this little thing and see if we can get, you know, a different idea going. And maybe that's, you know, everything's kind of the same and everyone's like, no one's talking right now, no one's doing business because everyone is paused, no one's writing checks really. Maybe by thinking of something a little different and trying something, say, you know, we're going to try this a little different, maybe that'll open up the checkbook because someone else might be curious about it. It's like, yeah, we need you, but we need you too. It's like, do you know anyone else that wants to do this? And we can create a little new little tiny wheel to start spinning. But you know, just like a snowball, gets bigger the more it spins, and then that gives incentive. So that's what I'm trying to say. Happy Thanksgiving for all you out there. As I'm doing this, it's also my birthday. So if you want to wish me a happy birthday, you can. You don't have to, but I got myself an awesome birthday present yesterday. I found a deal. I had to take it. It's a semi, a grain trailer. Got it from a friend, actually. So I'm happy on that. And also a little depressed because, like, oh crap, now the debt ensues until I can pay it all off. But hopefully everyone has a good time. We'll talk later. Curious on your thoughts on all this. Naturally, share, like, follow, listen, all that crap. We'll talk next week. See you out there.